Guys, Chaos back again. I just did a couple of changes after running for maybe about 30-40 minutes or so. So I'm starting first. We did some item change, and I swapped out my DPS amulet for this guy. And this is basically my only worry was freezing damage or just frozen in general. And what this guy here allows me to do is basically not worry about it anymore. They could chain freeze me all day, and because it's healing me, they really can't kill me with it. And there's like really no huge burst of like say frozen globes that can kill me anymore. And this guy here adds a ton of EHP. Now I lose crit and crit damage, but what I gain back is life on hit and a lot of EHP. So this in itself actually works out quite well. Um, and this really opens a build up to be more offensive. So I don't have to spend that much time, building up skills and stuff like that for defense. So as far as skills go, as you see down here, I basically went all DPS for passives because I am so safe right now. And Weapon Masters for swords give you 8% increased damage. So guess what? That is happy, happy time right now. And as far as build goes, I took out, oh, actually, sorry. The belt, I actually put back Immortal Kings. The only reason for it is because it will keep this guy pinned, and that will be a permanent buff for Berserker Rage for 25%. You don't necessarily need it, but I just like that there's no downtime when you have IK set to the third piece, and it basically allows you to just literally, keep 25% damage up the entire way. Um, so in place of ignore pain, because I literally am not running into any trouble killing things and not really in danger of dying, I will start to step up the difficulty maybe to 5 and 6. But Bloodlust basically acts as a heal. If you look at the description for Bloodlust, heal 0.5% of your maximum life per second, and that is for every enemy affected. So if you ground stomp and then rend, it basically heals you for. Right now, this is going to end up being what is it, like 450 EHP per second per mob, and that is a hell of a lot of heals. And if you basically gone ahead and 5 stack frenzy and do this, the rend animation is basically reduced to nothing. So without further ado, let's go back and let's show you guys a little bit more of this gameplay. So this is, like I said, iteration 2. And what I'm going to do is go around and build up the stacks. This is almost like CM Wizards, where you kind of have to build up your attacks. And this build definitely does better when you have things clustered up versus single target damage. So it is advisable you just keep moving. And this works really well if you could get even a Moonlight Amulet or something like that, Moonlight Ward, for the proc that spins those arcane balls around you. And keeping with the theme that this is a proc hella shit Barb, that would be a ideal choice for an amulet. So long as you could tank the freezing damage, honestly. And I've ran Act 3 pretty fully to test different kinds of mobs, and so far the results is really good. And I have about 1.6 million EHP with this. I mean, this is a lot more than I need for T4, but like I said, I'll start stepping it up. Just want to get more practice in before I do so. And I think this is going to be probably one of those builds, if you get all the items in hardcore, totally safe build for hardcore. And I don't play hardcore. I mean, it's just not my thing to lose, my character. But for those that do, it just very little can go wrong with this. I mean, of course, if you get frozen, you don't die. That's one of the biggest things about hardcore for me. And if you do lag out, I mean, you are basing this build roughly around having a lot of life regen too, so I think this is going to be one of those builds where I think, like I said, if you can find all the items, it might be pretty popular for the hardcore crowd. And then re-rolling, if that's possible, I mean, there's just so much more DPS that I can be doing. If I have, I could have just stood in there and showed you guys. Yeah, the amulet that I lost a lot of DPS for me, so the kill speed's not as fast, but this is literally the hardcore version, I would say. And then if you want to go a little bit more DPS, you just gotta play a little bit more careful. Yeah, I'm just gonna finish this floor because I did a lot of explaining in the last video, so hopefully you guys just enjoy, another look at this right now. I've tested my EHP on T4. I could take about 3 molten explosions right now with this EHP, so I'm not sure how many fallens I could take, but it's quite a bit. Maybe 1. I was up at 1.3 and I only took 1 and gone down to like maybe 5% of HP left. And these guys are 40 million HP right here, so this is taking a little bit. I was standing in inside of a frozen pulse and literally did not even phase me. Obviously because I now have this amulet, but before I put this amulet in, even before that, it did nothing. The life regen and the life on hit in this build is so good right now. I mean, obviously, I don't know how life on hit's gonna scale at the later levels. But if you're playing hardcore, I don't think time is of the essence, and you can literally just stand there and tank everything. I think you're more preferred doing that anyways. That's 55 million HP. That last fight would have been better if I had them basically standing next to each other, since there's really no procs going off on that one guy by himself. I gotta say, this is a change of pace. Then have the duck and dodge and weave with Hammer of the Ancients. I would say that this build is probably 100% Uber ready as well. Hammer the Ancient build, I am actually not too sure if I can handle the Cole and Siegebreaker fight. Those slow bubbles, they could be such a drag. But with this build, because you're using Frenzy, I think that makes up for a lot of it. Though there aren't too many things to proc off of in that fight, so yet to be seen. I could really use more frenzy damage and things of the like. But even without it, this is pretty amazing so far. I don't think I could say that enough times. Yeah, so when you're in the middle of everything, this is a lot of 360 AoE damage. And there was a point in which I talked about how Barbs really lack 360 AoE. And this really solves a lot of those issues, so the whole crowding thing isn't as much of an issue anymore. Well, that was one explosion and it took maybe a quarter of my life, so that wasn't too bad. Honestly speaking, I might not even need the Bloodlust. I could probably go with Lacerate, which will up the DPS of Ren. However, because I'm using two-handers, I don't really think the Ren damage is important. So I'd rather use it as a utility. which is basically a heal. And I think it serves its purpose better as a heal or an all-purpose EHP heal than anything else, because once again we're going with really high regen, really high EHP, and I think it just helps you to focus on things like not running away and getting maximum EHP out of this. This is sort of like the best group kind of build too, because it keeps everybody so safe, since you can really aggro everything up and keep everything stunned for a majority of the time, that it really helps the group DPS to grow. So you could kind of be that CC Barb, if you will. But at the same time, you're not really slouching on DPS either. Alright, so this is another full clear of depths too. So yeah, I'll keep working on it some more, like I said, and then as I find gear to basically boost this up, just like my Hammer of the Ancient Barb, be on the lookout to see this more often, okay? Thank you very much, guys. I'll see you next time. Take care. Bye-bye.